This video presupposes that the listener has a bit of background knowledge about dissociative identity disorder and the metaphysical concept of grounding. This video is speaking to others like myself living with D.I.D. A very brief definition of terms. Dissociative identity disorder, or D.I.D., is a disorder known for memory loss, disconnection with self or surroundings, and the expression of different personas, called alters. The collective of alters and selves is called a system. D.I.D. emerges from repetitive childhood trauma. Formerly known as multiple personality, it is a very misunderstood complex. There are not any clear or proven treatments, and there are not many D.I.D.-specific resources available. At best, it is often considered a novelty, and at worst, its existence is outright rejected. Grounding is a foundational component of many contemporary spiritual practices. Many grounding techniques involve pulling all of one's focus and energy into oneself in a controlled, singular way. It is considered step one for many traditions, a requirement to responsibly and effectively progress to any other state or working. Grounding is found in yoga, meditation practices, Wicca, therapy, and many other magical and religious settings. Trauma changes us permanently, and while information about D.I.D. has increased in recent years, spirituality, especially solitary and self-motivated spirituality, is a critical place where I feel our community could use support. Grounding in any traditional way, with a focus on oneness and control of self at a singular moment in space-time, is typically not possible with a mind of multiplicity. If you are many by definition, how can you pretend to be one? If people typically pursue spiritual practice to better know and experience oneself, then let's use the knowledge we already have about ourselves to create a new methodology. Using our better-than-average experience and working directly with our more complex inner selves, we will find a new means to get to the same end, the spiritual working place most folks get to by grounding. An entire system cannot and should not be expected to be at the same level or on the same page or same place or space or timeline at the same time. However, techniques can be created and used to strengthen and make more consistent the potential working space of spirit. The goal of many spiritual exercises is to grapple with one's experiences and perspectives to reach a sense of oneness and or nothingness. Realizing that we're all made of the same star stuff, the same humanity, and the same godness. Oneness with everything is sometimes made harder to achieve with alters that are either actively disinterested or actively resisting this oneness. Some alters may be fully fleshed out, and many are stubbornly immature, insisting that they themselves are entire universes and try to pull focus. It can be a loud room, even over aeons of dimensional space. Here in the depths of multiplicity, we have a head start. We live in one body with many perspectives and many selves. It may be that we find it more natural to sense the perspectives and importance of others. Perhaps from the depths of multiplicity, we can achieve a buzzing oneness, bees in a hive of a planet rich with perspectives other than our own, a calm tone arising from the chaos and understanding of many, rather than the silence and somberness of one. What catches your entire system's attention? What delights or interests every alter? Can a world be built up around this thing? For me, it is the smell, taste, and texture of oranges. It brings me back to myself, not to a singular point, but more like a bell that everyone can hear, a moment of unification. It should not be expected that this landscape or object will last forever. You should expect it to change and to evolve. This is part of the process. Try to pay attention. Keep a list of positive things that catch your attention or cause your altar's ears to perk up. We must be resilient and be able to build our new internal landscapes as others fade. Try not to exalt the eternal. Worshipping perceived consistency only leads to disappointment. Embrace the changing, churning sea of your dynamic existence. I think it's important for me to maintain a certain level of distance in this discussion. A common pitfall in D.I.D. support is talking too specifically about one's own system. It becomes harder to relate and feels both like an exercise in vulnerability and vanity. It betrays our tendency to be disconnected from others and from the outside world. Speaking of D.I.D. in a more general way will allow the information to reach more people. However, For the sake of practical advice and example, I'll offer this insight into my own system. My system is separated spatially, landscapes and dimensions, spaces and places. Altars are far apart yet loud, little pieces of myself scattered and demanding. Luckily, similar to descriptions of astral projection, there's a thin, shadowy silver string that connects us all. It's hard to see and hard to feel, but it's there. My grounding practice, if you want to call it that, is centered around ways to gently tug this string. The smell of oranges will typically do it. For a moment, many, if not most of us, stop what we're doing. We take a breath, we stand up, and we all look at the sky. This small gesture of synchronicity makes everything feel stronger after. It feels like crossing your eyes. We briefly overlap for moments of oneness, our images stacked before glitching and bouncing back to our distant selves. These moments of synchronicity and clarity strengthen and shore us up in preparation of other, more fractured times. We all can remember brief feelings of oneness, which give us more empathy for each other, lead to less feelings of loneliness, and, from a practical standpoint, lead to less moments of altars acting out.